Today's review is about Baldrick's Tomb, but this is a light dungeon crawl, so a fantasy game, which can be played in a variety of ways. It can be played competitively, in which case it is a kind of gentler, slightly nicer version of games such as Cutthroat Caverns. It can be played cooperatively, or it can be played solitaire. It just so happens that I have just finished playing a game in solitaire, so I set up the game for that mode. And, well, I played the game and then I had things around, so I reset it to show you how the game works in solitaire. It is always nice to have the solitaire option. Then I will also show you how the game works competitively, and if I had the time, cooperatively too. But I don't want this review to last 2 hours. Here's the board, which looks pretty mathematical, not very thematic, I have to say. This is because it is an 8x8 space board, and things are placed randomly using 8-sided die. 4 and 6, 46, it is that location. I think the game could have been a little more thematic by having a grid with art that looks like an actual floor of a dungeon, and then simply with numbers on the sides. But no big deal. That is to say, the board is a little abstract for me. Also, you see these markers are particularly important. These are rubble markers. On the other side of the rubble markers, there are the things that you encounter in the dungeon. They tend to blend in with the board a little bit, but not a big deal. These are minor issues. And look at that guy. That's me. Well, that's my avatar in the game. So you have decks for scrolls, traps, monsters. There are 3 decks of monsters, level 1, level 2, level 3. When you go to the next level, you shuffle in the decks for the corresponding level. A deck of gold for treasures and, well, other stuff that I'll talk about during the game, as the game progresses. There is one of those tokens that represents an exit, which is the exit to the next level. I need to find that before round 5. So I will... In the game, you take a round, you move your character up to 4 spaces. You do not move diagonally. When you enter a space with a rubble marker, you flip the rubble marker, look at the symbol that is on it, and you resolve the encounter. After you took your turn by moving up to 4 spaces and encountering what's under the rubble markers, you go to the next turn, repeat, next turn. And in turn 5, in the normal mode, your time in that level is over. Which means that you have a penalty. You need to find the exit by the end of that round. Yes, by the end of the round, by the 5th turn. If you don't, you lose half of all the gold that you gain. This is one of those games where you really want gold. That's a big part of the game. If you manage to do that, if you manage, well, to go to the next level because you're still alive, that's great. Then you put the rubble markers, with the exception of the exit marker, in here together with other ones. Shuffle, mix, draw 9 random ones, mix in the exit, put them face down. And when you put them face down, you can choose the location, but you have to put a space between the rubble markers that you place on the board. Then you roll the die to determine your initial location, 71, there I am. But this is how you set up a level of the dungeon. That is also how you set up the game at the beginning. The scroll that should go there. So as I said earlier, you simply move and encounter stuff. For example, here I have found a scroll, very simple. Then I simply draw a card from the scroll deck, and scrolls will give me different types of advantages. These are just some agility, special attacks, beast master, sticky fingers, which is good if you're playing competitively because you can steal stuff from the other opponents, things like that. So you find a scroll, you gain a scroll. A scroll? Did I say a scroll? A scroll. All the rubble markers that you used are then placed randomly on the board at the end of the turn. You roll of your turn that you just took, you roll the dice 44 and you place the rubble marker in the corresponding position. 44 is already a rubble marker, I can place it adjacent to it. Once they're flipped, they are relocated randomly, but they are relocated face up. I'm keeping moving. Gold, that's great. I simply turn a card from the gold deck and it tells me how many coins of gold I have found. Other things that you can find, monsters, I'll talk about monsters in a second. Traps, you draw a card from the trap deck and you resolve the effect. Traps, so each trap has a nasty thing that happens to you. Monsters, to talk about monsters, we need to talk about the health. Here you have the track that you use to record your stats. You have an amount of health points, which at the beginning is 8, and you have a poison level, which is 0. Game effects will raise your poison level, and you will try to get it down. Also, you'll be wounded, and the health level will go down, and there will be game effects that will allow you to heal. When the poison marker and the health marker meet, then you're gone. Done. At the beginning of the game, in this variant, in the solo roguelike variant, you do not have any skills, you do not have any scrolls. Skills are very important. They give you all sorts of super, fantastic, phenomenal abilities. You really, really need them quite desperately, but you don't have any in this variant. In the competitive and cooperative variant, you start with skills and scrolls. How easy is that? But no, not here. You have to make your own fortune. You have to earn your stuff. Other things are, for example, the Fountain of Healing. You recover health that you lost, but you do not automatically lose poison. And that is the exit that you need to reach before the end of turn 5 of the present round. Otherwise, you lose half of your gold. That is the penalty that you receive for not finding the exit in time in the roguelike mode. But monsters, oh, we know that those are always an important part of any dungeon. You land on a monster, then you draw a card from the monster deck. This is how a monster may look like. Well, no, that's pretty much what a monster looks like. Monsters have stats for the number of health points that they have. You need to match that to give them enough wounds to knock them down, knock them out. This is the number of gold that you gain. Also, here is the combat table. It's just so simple. I'm looking for a way of showing you this, reducing the glare. And it seems that I can't figure it out. This is just ridiculous. Come on, stay up there. I may edit this out or not because it's kind of funny. Okay, combat table. Pretty simple. Each round of combat you roll 1d8 and you see the number that you rolled. Of course, there may be skills and scrolls that give you modifiers, which is what gives the combat system. I was gonna say some depth, but that's not really the case. It gives you more fun stuff that takes place as you roll these dice. It's really not a deeply tactical game, but it's fun to use scrolls and to use skills. You roll the die and you look at the results. Suppose I rolled a 6, I don't have modifiers. 6. Numbers that are under that symbol and to the right that are in that category indicate that I place a 1 marker on the monster, that symbol. That's simple. 3 and 4 are under the category poison and 1 marker. That means that I both give the rat a 1 marker and I also gain a point of poison. And if I roll 1 or 2, then I only get poisoned. Oh no, it's a bat. 1 health point, 2 gold that you gain by destroying that. 1, you run away. 2, 2, you get hit by the monster. The little claw means that you lose a health point. 2 or 3. 4, you both get poisoned and you get to wound the little bugger there. 5 to 8, you give a wound marker to the guy. There is a level 2 monster that is kind of interesting. I wanted to mention. I like this guy, which is the no, it's a mimic. Because one of the effects that the mimic has is that you put coins of gold on it. Every time that you roll a number in the category, you put a gold coin there, and then if you destroy the monster, then you gain that gold on top of the gold that you would normally gain. This is pretty much the idea in the roguelike version. You start without spells, without skills, and you go from level to level. At the end of each level, you have a chance of spending the gold that you earned to acquire new skills, which you really must do to survive, and then you reset the level, you continue, and you simply try to survive for as long as possible, to go through as many levels as possible, to gain as many skills as possible, because at the end, when you're finally knocked out for good, your level of success is measured by the amount of gold and number of skills that you have earned. And then you can play again and see if you can do better. You can challenge your friends to see if they can do better, so on and so forth. But this is for the roguelike version of the game. Oh, something that I didn't mention about combat is that also during combat you have the option of simply running away, in which case you gain no gold, and actually you had to spend gold. You had to spend an amount of gold equal to the level of the monster that you are trying to escape. You escape from a monster level 1, it costs 1 gold, but you should really be ashamed of running away from monsters of level 1. That applies to all combat in the game. Now, about the competitive mode, each player gets a player mat such as this one. As you can see, there are slots to place initial skills. You already start with skills. You have 6 points of health as opposed to 8 as you have in the roguelike version. And you also start with scrolls. The important thing is that here players are trying to get as much gold as possible, and to do so they can also steal it from other players. At the end of the game, at the end of the last level, the player with the highest amount of gold is the winner. And there are scrolls and there are other situations that will allow you to steal money from other players. Also, there is a special token, which is Baldrick's gem, which is worth extra money. It is very similar to the other thing. You still move level to level, encounter things. Things are relocated randomly. The dungeon is set up randomly every turn. You keep track of rounds. Each player gets a round, and then when the game goes back to the first player, you move to the next until the end of that level, and simply at the end you count points. Then there's also another variant, which is co-op. In the co-op version, you're not just trying to make as much money as possible, you're trying to defeat the nasty necromancer. Then you use this mat here to represent the necromancer. You place the health point for the necromancer here. There is simply a rubble which the necromancer, which is shuffled in with the other ones, so the players can encounter the bad guy at every floor, and they should try to destroy the bad guy as quickly as possible, because at each floor his combat tables become more unforgiving. He becomes more and more problematic to defeat, more emboldened by the fact that the players seem to be unable to stop him. Ha 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 ha. Anyhow, you destroy the necromancer, you win. You can escape from the necromancer with the usual escaping procedure. But what if you die at the hands of the necromancer? Then, oh no, you're a zombie. You're not out of the game. You become a zombie. You receive this card which tells you what you can do as a zombie, and what you can do is to actively work to annoy the heck out of all of your former friends. It was so nice to be friends when you were alive. Now it's different, because now you attack them, now you try to move the rubble away from them, things like that. So you're not out of the game, you just become the kind of person nobody likes. Other than that, fun stuff. And it's great to have a cooperative option too. So competitive, cooperative, solitaire, and of course the co-op version can also be played solitaire. So you have two solitaire possibilities: a roguelike version and the Necromancer's Last Stand adventure type of variant, in which you can lead any number of players or of characters like you would do with a group of players. You control all the characters and you go and fight against the Necromancer. I like this game. It is clearly very simple. It is a pretty basic dungeon crawl. Not one that you should pick up if you want depth and complexity and detail. It is a generic romp where fun stuff happens, monsters come out of the woodwork, you find treasures, you find scrolls, you use those scrolls, and also, and so on and so forth. Really basic, almost minimalist. So this is what the game is. But there are advantages in this, of course. For example, the game is very family friendly. You can also see from the art, which is, by the way, adorable. I don't think that that's an art that can be appreciated only if you're playing the game with your kids. I think there's just so much humor and irony in that art. It is really effective. I'm talking about the cards. I'm talking about the illustrations. The board, as I said, doesn't look all that great to me, but that's fine because the board is still fairly functional. It gets the job done. So, very light, very simple. It sets up quickly. It plays in under an hour, definitely. You can adjust the length. You can adjust the rules, change things here and there. There are a lot of different modes in which you can play a game. And I'm just referring to the solo roguelike, co-op, and competitive. I'm talking about the fact that even within these modes, there are then variants that you can use. Definitely, it is in the sense that there is a lot of value in this box. The game is really not expensive. You find the game, and in the box you find a game that looks nice. It is fun to play, and you can use in many different ways, in many different quote unquote configurations, and you can play it in a lot of ways. You can play it with your kids. You can play it with your adult friends if it's in a break in a game night between two heavier games, or just if that night you don't feel like playing something super long or super complicated. It is fun. Interaction between players is exciting and fun. The illustrations really made in such a way that even though sometimes you have quote unquote aggressive behavior players stealing something from another player, still it is so ironic. It's almost like you're playing a prank against your opponent rather than stealing money. It's all good spirited, it's all in good fun. The game really creates a nice atmosphere of, well, let's play this slightly comedical adventure in which the monsters look almost as funny as the heroes, and funny and fun stuff happens. Light dungeon crawl, I cannot stress this enough, but I played dungeon crawls that were lighter. Also played dungeon crawls that were heavier, and I think that here we have a very good balance between rules that are very accessible, very easy to figure out and to implement, and at the same time still enough story, enough fun moments, enough situations to keep you interested. I like it. Very positive impressions from me. Fun, light, simple, entertaining, and very good value for your money.